Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of our Mystical Wellness podcast. I'm really excited about our special guest this evening. We are joined by the Dryad, and she is a practicing Druid who dances with the seasons, listens to the whispers of ancient trees, and seeks harmony within the rhythms of the natural world. As a devoted steward of Earth's mysteries, Dryad has wandered misty forests, traced the paths of ancient ley lines, and communed with the spirits held within sacred stone circles. The Dryad's journey began with a deep calling to the old ways, reawakening the ancestral teachings that weave together magic, wisdom, and reverence for all forms of life. Rooted in tradition, yet ever evolving, the Dryad walks a path of deep listening, seasonal celebration, and earth-centered devotion. Dryad, welcome. How are you?
Hello, not too bad, thank you. Yeah, how are you feeling?
I am okay. I'm hanging in there. Just 2 more days, and I get this cast that I've got on now. I get that replaced with something else. So this is really,
Well, that's
really
good.
hot. So I can't wait to see what's underneath and get a new cast on. And then this weekend I'm going to Glastonbury, which is going to be amazing. So
Oh, that'll be really good.
yeah, I'm going to go to Avebury on the way back on Tuesday.
Oh,
So I'm looking
wow.
forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine being around all those kind of ancestral energies will really kind
Mm.
of help get you back in tune with that kind of grounded nature.
Hope so. I've
Yeah.
got a priestess temple day on the Monday, so we're just going down. Even if I don't do anything except that day, I know it's going to be amazing because I'll just tune into the land. It's going to be awesome. So
Yeah.
what have you been up to since we last spoke?
So my most recent thing that I've been doing is actually the event at Creswell Crags that I held. It's funny you mentioned Avebury because Creswell Crags is actually a key archaeological site within Europe. It was one of the first sites where they found prehistoric cave art by the Neanderthals. It's now thought of now. So I was really, really excited to be able to hold a Echoes of Time market there. And that was really, really kind of, to be honest, being in the Creswell Crags area and having, because I had healing done at the same time and having the Reiki healing. And one of the healers mentioned afterwards how it felt like their healing had been enhanced by the land that it was done on. And I think that's really where I want to start moving my events, kind of moving forward, is that direction of building on top of those kind of ancestral roots, building on top of that land, making sure that people actually realize what's there. Because it's crazy. I don't drive, so I got a taxi to Creswell Crags on the Friday to help people set up for the weekend. And my taxi driver had never ever been there, and he'd grew up in Creswell Crags, or like in Creswell, sorry, not the Crags. He grew up in Creswell and never ever been to the Crags, and it was really crazy to me that he'd never ever been to this kind of really significant site. Like when I moved here, it was actually the first place that I visited, with my now fiance, and when I look back at that, it's almost like it was the first time I kind of felt that real connection with the Neolithic, which is a time period in prehistoric history. So that's something I would always really encourage people to have a look into as well, is kind of having a look at the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the Neolithic, the Paleolithic, all the different time zones that we've got out there, and just seeing where you think things fit together, to be honest. Because when you actually start to look into the prehistoric, into that ancestral connection, and actually speaking to our ancestors as well, when you try to connect with that stone circle energy, it is truly kind of perspective changing. I don't think people really actually understand what life would have been like back then for people and how they would have survived. And a lot of people tend to think that it was kind of uncivilized and whatnot, but that was absolutely not the case whatsoever. So kind of moving forwards with all of my events and stuff, I really want to build on top of that kind of prehistoric ancestral energy and really get the message out there, to be honest.
That sounds amazing. So is this your new wave event? Was it a new wave?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was a new wave event. Yeah, it was under the green part of it, which is what I run.
Yeah.
And it was really, really cool because it just gave me the opportunity to see where I wanted to take things with these events.
Mm.
Because we had the mystical market the month beforehand, and that was a huge success. So I think I will be kind of revisiting that mystical element, but in a more kind of ancestral connection rather than looking at it as a market. I want it to feel as a place, a refuge for people, to be honest,
Yeah.
to be able to reconnect with that kind of root. Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm really about, is connecting with that true inner self, with connecting with that root, that ancestral root, that grounding root that keeps us here, because a
Mm.
lot of people, I think they go about their day-to-day lives and they don't actually realize why they're here, what they're doing. what they're connecting with just by walking on the grass, and how much history is like just below their feet, and how much they're actually ignoring, in their day-to-day life by just simply being,
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
explain, I suppose, but I want to be able to kind of awaken people to that.
Yeah, I'd love to do sacred site tours. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to do more traveling next year and to go to more sacred sites around the world because I've been to some places,
Well, you
mainly in
mentioned
Asia.
sorry, you mentioned earlier you were going to Norfolk.
Yeah.
And Grimes Grave is a place that I would really recommend in Norfolk. Highly recommend, because it's considered a ancestral kind of mining site where they would have got the chalk out to build and trade with. And that's a bit of a controversial thing for me to say, is that they would trade with the chalk, because a lot of kind of archaeologists believe that trading wasn't such a thing back then. It was too kind of prehistoric. And that's not the case at all. From what I've found through my research, it was very much that there was a trading system going on, and that they had these kind of dialogues and these intellects and cultures that we don't even really know about.
Mm. So I'm going to Glastonbury next weekend. Have you done much research into Glastonbury and
Glastonbury is
Stonehenge?
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. There is a lot. So to be honest, I could probably talk about the whole time, to be honest. But there's an old theory. I say it's an old theory. It's not a very well-known theory, is what I'll call it. And it's this person who he was an archaeologist, and he actually got excommunicated from the community at Cambridge because he had found something that he wasn't meant to find. And what he actually found was that things like Stonehenge and Avebury and whatnot the stones had been moved through the waterways. And the way he was able to back this up is by proving how people would have been able to, one, build reed boats that would support the structure. So that was a scientific experiment that was done that's just not talked about for some reason. And they found that, yeah, it's more than possible for reed boats to support those kind of Neolithic, Mesolithic stones that come from the Stonehenge building. And a lot of kind of research went into it from this person's side. He's called Robert, to be honest. I'll make sure I get the name. But he's called Robert in first name. And he's just an incredibly kind of talented guy when it comes to this research. And what he's actually been able to find is that the water system within Britain at that time was much higher than what we'd ever considered. And so that means that our ancestors would have had a really deep connection with the water, and they would have kind of basically navigated their life through it. And that's really lined up with a lot of the research that I've done. When I say research, it's not so much kind of physical research, it is more on the spiritual side, where I've connected with stone circles, I've communicated with our ancestors, I've walked that land. And I have done physical research as well. I've gone through my obviously archaeology diploma to make sure I'm looking at the right evidence and whatnot along the way. But I just really want to bring it to light, because I feel like right now people are lost, completely lost, and they have no idea who they are, where they're going, what the world is even. And I think it's time to really take it back and realize, actually, we're the ones that are prehistoric cavemen, not the people back then. They were the ones that were highly sophisticated, highly in tune, and highly intuitive. And we're the ones that seem to just downplay that for no reason, really. And now we've got lost. So I'm really, yeah, just trying to bring that back around.
Yeah, I love it. That's amazing. So for people who've not met you before, just tell a little bit about yourself and what kind of readings you do. Hopefully we can share some readings this evening.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, with my main reading style, I do a Tree of Life reading. So this is something that I was given as a gift when I decided that I was going to officially take my pagan vows, sorry. And when I took these pagan vows, I then went to go do a reading like you usually would, when you do the tarots and whatnot. And I grabbed this person's hand, and I saw this incredible thing, because I just grabbed hold of their hand to comfort them. And I saw I suppose it would be their soul, is the best way to describe it, as a tree of life. And what that is it starts with the roots, and that's what grounds you to this life. And then we work our way up to the tree trunk, and that's kind of like the past lives. And sometimes there are our life elements in there as well. So things that you might experience in a future life. And then we also work our way up to the branches. And as we get to the branches, they kind of always come out like that. And that's all of the different decisions within life. So it'll be kind of like you have a career branch, a family branch, a friends branch, and depending on the health of these branches and the look of these branches and what's on them, depends on how the reading goes. So sometimes my readings can be a lot more mediumistic, where I will kind of bring people's relatives through because that's what they need. But other times it'll be much more spiritual, where we look into past lives and we discuss that. So it's really difficult to kind of narrow down where my readings are going to go, because it is really what their guides are wanting to bring through for them. And then my other reading style is I like to do tarot readings. So my main reading style with tarots is my pathways readings. So that's essentially where I get my tarots and I'll place them in a pathway. So that's 1, 2, 3 in a straight line. And that's the pathway for the next, to be honest, it can go up to around about 2 years. But I haven't seen it go over that point. But that's because when we make decisions in life, a lot of the time, a pathway will only lead us so far before we have to make another major decision. So I think that's why they kind of have that almost, I would call it a semi-time limit on them. And then my other reading style is my Elder Futhark rune readings. And that's where you would get some runes and you would cast them on an area, on a table. And what you would do is do the readings from the runes that are laid upwards.
That sounds great. So there was a message on Facebook earlier from one of our ladies, Rachel, who said that she was next to you at a show recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she was just mesmerized by you the whole time, but she didn't have a reading, and she regrets it so much. So she's hopefully going to find you and
wow.
come out and have a reading. She was just mesmerized the whole show. I think that's
Oh,
really
bless
lovely.
her.
So she definitely wants a tree of life reading, but she's not
Yeah,
with us this evening. So yeah, so she's going to track you down, I think, for an
yeah,
in-person
definitely.
reading. Yeah,
Oh, that's so
awesome.
nice to know, bless her.
Yeah, I don't know if she must have been at one of your events, unless she was at a different event recently. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been to a
Um,
couple. I had one in St. Helens about a month ago, so it
oh,
might
that
have been
was,
that one.
yeah, it was probably that one. Yeah, because she's local to me. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
amazing. Okay, was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we started on the readings? Anything else you got going on?
To be honest, right now I'm focusing on going through a growth period.
Mm.
So my next major event is actually Druid Camp. Which I'm super excited for. So that's going to be a couple days where it's in August. It's the 13th of August until the 17th of August.
Mm.
And that's a camp on land. And the land itself feels sacred, to be on it. I have visited it before, and it's just incredible, to be honest, to be a part of that land in itself, without what the activities are planned that they have there. So I've talked a lot with a lot of the druids that are running it. And we're going to be doing workshops. I'll be doing my readings there. I'll be taking all of my different kinds of elements to that I like to have. So I'm a druid of the Tuatha De Danann. So that's something that I really want to bring to this camp, because there's not many of us left anymore. Now, a druid of the Tuatha De Danann is somebody who takes a vow to a specific goddess, and vows to serve only that goddess. And that pantheon essentially is what I would call it. And there's probably about 200 of us left in the world that I know of. So I'd be really interested to bring that element into the druid camp, because there'll be lots of other druids and bards there. So I would love to be able to see what they think of that, what their opinions are, because you'll find a lot of druids, they kind of get into it and they don't really know which branch they want to go into. And I know as a druid, I felt quite isolated, to be honest, when I started, which is why I chose to be a druid of the Tuatha De Danann, because as I mentioned to you previously, Danu was somebody who always guided me. So it really just came naturally to kind of dedicate what I do to her. But for other people, it's not that simple. And I just want to be able to bring that element of kind of deciding where you want to go, what choices you want to make in life, and what you want to do with that kind of druid title, I suppose.
Yeah, so I've been studying with the Anglesey Order of Druids with Christopher Hughes, and I'm
Mm.
really far behind on my studies, like
Oh,
months
bless
and
you.
months and months behind. And because when you get, because it's online and you get handouts, I'm not joking, it could be like 500 pages for one class.
Wow.
And so yeah, I'm a little bit behind on that, but I will hopefully be catching up. I don't think I'll be graduating anytime soon, to be honest. I really
Yeah.
don't, because it's in Welsh as well. So,
Yeah, I can imagine that is very
yeah, it's a
complicated.
lot of Welsh. Yeah, so I still need
Yeah.
to learn Welsh as well as like balance it out with the English. That's
No, I
mad.
fully understand that. I'm trying to teach myself Gaelic so I can read the
Oh,
original
right.
version of the Druids of the Tuatha De Danann. There's actually original literatures of it. And I can't
Amazing.
read those myself yet because I don't know the Gaelic well enough. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
learn that at the minute so I can read those. But that's really cool that you're doing that as well.
Yeah, I started last year in like October and I'm so far behind.
Oh, it
Probably
gets
I'll
like that
probably
though.
I'll start again next year. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes when it gets too much, you've just got to say, right, I'm ready to just put my head
Yeah,
down and do it again, you know?
yeah, I do have
I'm
a lot
always
on.
up for a good restart.
I've always got a lot on.
Yeah, I relate to
Yeah.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's do some readings.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
our
I'm just
first,
gonna quickly grab my cards because I've just
yeah.
left them in the other room, so I'll just be
Okay,
two
no problem.
moments.
We've got Lee first, haven't we?
If you say so.
Well, you came in first.
Ah, right.
I try and do it on who entered the room first, but it doesn't
First,
always work that way.
first up, best dressed.
I need to write a list actually. A list. So we don't get sidetracked.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So our first reader is querent is Lee.
Okie dokie. So, Lee, could I just ask, is it a particular type of area of your life that we want to look at today? So, with pathways readings, it's best to get an idea of whether we're looking at kind of career, family, friends, or if it's just a general, just so I know that I'm not going in blind and we're looking at a particular part of your life. It makes it a bit easier for me to read the cards.
Right. Basically, general, but I'm being led, poked, prodded, pushed in the general direction of learning about the elementals, the realm, working with them.
Okay.
And I'm kind of walking through sludge at the moment because obviously you put it in on Google or anywhere like that, and you disappear under a pile of information. So
yeah.
anything along those lines would be lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited about that because I work very closely with elementals and things as well. So that's going to be an interesting reading for me. I'll just give them a quick shuffle. And what I'm going to do is just pull 3 cards and I'll just show you them as I talk it down.
Okay.
So usually if you'd be able to see my desk, which sorry, sadly you can't, you'd see that I tried to position them in a way in which that they look like a pathway. So I'll always try to make it look as if, so this one will be the first one. And then I would position that one on top. And then we would get this one and it would go like that. And that's how we would look at it kind of when we were at an event or anything like that. And I read it from the bottom down. So that's because the bottom symbolizes the start. It's basically Druids used to believe that when they would write Ogham and things, the start would be at the bottom because that's how a tree grows. That's how a plant grows. So we start with the bottom on these readings. And the first one we actually have is a major arcana. So I'll just let that focus. So we've got the star. And as you can see, it's a beautiful card. So that straight away it symbolizes to me that you absolutely got the right idea on this pathway. Okay. So with this card, what we're looking at is a very, very complex start. It's a very complex area of your life. So the fact that it's a major arcana alone says it's going to have a great influence on how you take things moving forwards. Okay. So when we have a major arcana to start, that means that moving forwards, this is going to have an effect on your life that you're going to notice. It'll affect your decisions. It'll affect your day to day. Okay, so just be aware of that. And the next part that we get with this card. So I'm going to pull another one because as we see here, we have lots of eyes in this corner, and that symbolizes a complex card. Now, these complex cards require another card pull. So I've just done another card pull and we actually had another major arcana. So that goes to show again, this is going to be something that really affects you moving forwards in life and it's strength. Okay. So that goes to show me that what we're looking at here is something that's going to be giving you strength in life, something that's going to guide your decisions, something that you're going to essentially be using as almost a moral compass for where you go, what you want to do. Okay, and now that means that this is a really strong start. It means your connection in life itself as this kind of path is very, very strong. Okay, which is a really, really positive thing to look at. It means you're very grounded, you're very kind of within your own life right now, which is really good. So next one we've got is the 7 of Cups. And what you'll notice with this card is it symbolizes making decisions. Okay. So with the Seven of Cups being our next card, since it's not a major arcana and it's following our major arcana, this actually goes to show that what we're looking at is an element of water coming in. Okay. So with the cups, we've got that kind of energetic flow, that energetic bud of life coming in. Okay. So that ultimately shows me that what you need to be doing is actually looking less into kind of grabbing it and more into letting you experience it. So what I mean by that is, rather than kind of sitting at a computer and Googling what is fire, what is water, and looking at it that way, how could I connect? What can I do to work with them? What I would say to you is to go out in nature and listen to your intuition. And see what your intuition says. Does your intuition kind of take you towards a stream? Does it take you towards a forest? Does it take you up onto a mountain? Because that symbolizes air, you know, and really have a think about where you want to go, because I don't think that you're going to find your answer correctly within research. Okay.
Right.
And then the next card, what we've got here is, I'll just show it to you. We've got inverse position. And we've got the Eight of Wands coming in. So the Eight of Wands symbolizes a lot of different decisions coming in. So with the Eight of Wands, it's essentially, you're the little rabbit here. So I'll just show you the card again. You're the little rabbit. And what we've got is all of this energy coming around you, okay? So when you've got all of this energy coming around you in this position with these elementals, what that means is you're going to be taking in a lot of information. So what I would say is to take it slowly, okay, moving forward, take it slowly, take it at a slow pace, one that you feel like you can manage, because the information that you're going to get is quite substantial. It'll lead you through the rest of your life. It's not going to be something that you can kind of put down again. It'll be something that you have to keep nibbling at forever. Okay. So don't look at it as if there's an end to this journey. This is a journey that's going to take you through forever. It's going to be something that you're going to take on as part of you rather than a goal for you to complete. Okay.
Okay.
So I hope that makes sense. It is, like I say, mostly about you accepting that what you're looking at is more of a flow of how things should be rather than forcing it on yourself. So rather than kind of going online and looking online at things and Googling, you should be kind of sitting and meditating out in nature and feeling where you want to be in that area. And even if it's just kind of go into your garden, to be honest, because gardening is something I always recommend to people that are trying to reconnect with that elemental side of things. Because you really do learn a lot from the plants when you're just kind of tending to them and placing them in your garden and whatnot. There's a lot to be learned about the elements in just that minor positioning when you really listen to what the earth has to tell you. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That is absolutely brilliant. My other half piped up and said, can you recommend any books for learning about the elementals? That kind of...
So I actually have one behind me. This one, Celtic Myth and Magic. It has everything in it, from literally fairies to elementals to the different branches of paganism. It's not just Celtic. There is an incredible amount.
Who is the author? So we can go and search for it.
Adain McCoy.
Adain McCoy. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and it just has everything in it.
That's brilliant. That is actually, I've been not knowing what I'm here for, where to go. It's taken a very long time for me to become open to this, but yours is the second enormous input of information. And I'm so glad, and so thank you so much for your help.
I'm glad I could help, honestly. I really do try to give people that direction with my readings as well, so I'm really glad to hear that.
All right, thank you very much, and I will let you get on with everybody else.
Thank you.
Cheers.
That was amazing. So next we've got Suzanne.
Okie dokie. And is there a specific area you wanted to have a look at, Suzanne?
Oh, hi, Dryad lady.
Hello.
Yes, to be honest, I'm doing quite a few modalities, but I don't know whether or not I'm just being a jack of all trades and master of none, whether I should just basically hunker down and try and maybe just become more successful in one area.
And when you say more successful, are you thinking kind of within a career or within your spiritual self?
A spiritual self. I do Akashic, I do tarot, I do, you know, I'm doing the sound healing as well. I do, you know, access bars, but you know, sometimes I just seem to pick up these things as I go, and then I seem to. I'm one of those people who sees something shiny and new and moves on to the next thing, and I don't know whether or not that's something intrinsically one of the in my personality that does that, you know, and whether I should just sort of say, right, well, you've got enough to be going on with here, you know. I think I'm trying to sort of get spirit to come through, and since the psychic development course we did last year, that's not easy, you know. So
yeah, no, I completely get it. I run psychic development groups myself, and it can be difficult because a lot of psychic development groups, they make you kind of believe that there's a goal to it. And what I teach my students is that it's not a goal, it's a way of life.
Right, that's interesting. Yes,
it's a different way of looking at it, but it's not for everybody, so have a think about that. But I've just pulled your cards for you anyway. So I'll start again with, we've got the Two of Cups.
Right.
So again, this shows that you're kind of in the middle of an area right now. You're essentially on an ocean and you're bedding there. And you're not really sure where to go with that. And it kind of is evidenced by these fish that are floating below the cups. And they just have no real direction. They're kind of all over the place. And the water is very rapid as well. So that kind of goes to show that there is that kind of harsh judgment of self within your head as well. So that's where we're starting out with this pathway. So that's where you'll be at right now. But the next one, what this actually goes to show is a lot of internal challenges, okay? So what we're looking at with this next card is the Nine of Swords, but it's in reverse position. So when we get the Nine of Swords in a reverse position, ultimately that means what you've been trying to do is navigate a minefield when you've been looking at this kind of side of yourself. I think that what's happened is you've become too overwhelmed in what you've been doing. And like you say, it's as if you've been a child in a candy store. And you've been like, oh, I need this, and oh, I could do that, and oh, that's cool. And that has in itself has kind of overwhelmed you with what you're doing. So I think what this pathway is actually trying to show us, especially with this next card that I've got coming in, which is the Queen of Swords in reverse position. And I will just pull another card here because we've got the eyeball coming in there as well. So let me just grab another one.
Oh, we like an eyeball.
So we actually have a major arcana, and that's in the normal position, so that's upright. So that's the Lovers that we've got come in. So actually what this is it's a story of falling in love with yourself, okay? And that's what's going to be your first step. Right now, what you've got to do is remove all of this extra information that you've overwhelmed yourself with. Decide what it is you really feel you have a connection with. What gives you goosebumps when you're doing it? What makes you feel alive? Okay, because I think right now that you don't perhaps enjoy everything you're doing as much as you should be. And especially with these cards, what it's kind of showing me is that ultimately you've got encapsulated in this idea that you're kind of building and growing, but actually what you've been doing is suffocating yourself with all of these different energies, all of these different ideas. Okay, so what I would say is take it back a couple steps, remove a lot of the things that you don't truly feel drawn to, and have a think about that. You know, sit and meditate on it if you're able, and just have a think about what you actually want to be drawn to, what you want to do. Okay, and I think when you figure that out, a lot more self-love will come in. I think you'll be a lot less harsh on yourself, okay? And I think that ultimately what you're going to have to do is try and find that you need to fall back in love with yourself, okay?
Thank you. Yes, that's couldn't be more perfect, those cards. Thank you.
That's okay.
Appreciate that.
No worries.
So Lee was asking, what deck are you using?
The deck I am using is, let me just grab the lid. It is the Untamed Mystery Tarot. So it's the same ones that I had last time. And to be honest, I love these because they're an energetic pathway card. They make perfect sense for my Tree of Life readings, and that's why I connect with the tarot so in such a way. Because the way I see your Tree of Life is I travel along those branches and I experience those things through your eyes. So when I'm doing these tarots and doing these pathways readings, it really is just a bit to my main reading style of my Tree of Life, almost a sneak peek of what there is to come.
They are utterly beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you see, I'm looking at those cards now and I'm thinking, oh, I'm just like,
yeah.
oh, no, stop it.
Yeah, I know, they're so pretty. Yeah, I saw him online and I was like, they are going to be so perfect for my readings.
Okay, so next up we've got Maria.
Perfect. And Maria, what area is it we're looking into today, or is it just general?
Mainly general, but family as well. You know, there's some family issues going around at the moment. I'd just like those resolved as well.
Okay, no worries. Let's have a look. I'll just pull my cards. Okay, so we're starting again with another major arcana coming in. So this is definitely going to be an area of your life that is significant. So we've got the Chariot, okay? And with the Chariot card, we've got another eyeball, so I'll just pull another one to go along with it. And we have the King of Wands. Okay, so that straight away shows me that we're looking at a kind of masculine area of your life right now that's got a major influence within you, okay? Now, to be honest with you, I feel as if this is very, very complex and very layered. This area that we're looking at right now, I feel as if there's a masculine presence within your life, an elderly one particularly, that's having an influence on you. And I feel as if ultimately you're worried about that, to be honest. And I get a lot of stress and anxiety when I'm looking at these cards as well. And with the Chariot, we're symbolizing here a stage in life where we're not quite where we should be, okay? We're not where we want to be, but we are there and we're a bit stuck, okay? It's not that we're a matter of never ever moving forwards, it's just we're moving forward slowly. The weight on this Chariot is heavy, okay? It's as if you're carrying this heavy weight around you. And to be honest with you, especially when we're looking at the King card, I do feel as if this is kind of health related when we're looking at this, okay? It is very much, it feels as if you're kind of being torn within yourself. You're tearing yourself apart with these decisions, okay? So again, a really heavy reading. I am sorry that it's coming out this way. But next up, we've got the Eight of Swords coming in. So with the Eight of Swords, what we're looking at is ultimately it's going to get worse before it gets better. Okay, is what this card is symbolizing. Because I feel as if what we're going through right now is something that's been kind of almost forced upon you, okay? And I do feel as if it's an area in your life where you're going to learn a lot and grow a lot. But I also feel as if it's very, very emotionally heavy, okay? And especially when we're looking at this next card, and we do require another pull with it. So we have the Page of Cups to start with, and it's in the reverse position, okay? And then the next one we've got is the King of Pentacles. So we've got these two cards together. And these two cards together ultimately are showing that once we get past that initial once we get past this next bad chapter, because again, I do want to say that it's going to get worse before it gets better. So the next bad thing that happens, once we get past that, we're able to move forwards a lot more freely, okay? It's as if a weight has been lifted when I'm looking at this pathway, to be honest with you. And I do feel as if ultimately what you're going to be doing is looking within yourself and finding a lot of comfort within you. I feel as if the way you're going to be able to navigate this situation is going within yourself, to be honest. I don't feel necessarily that you're in a position where you're able to kind of lean on the people around you for this area of your life. And I want to say that what we should be doing is ultimately kind of sitting with those emotions and asking ourselves those questions and then deciding if we want to share that with people, okay? Rather than kind of just sitting down and going through it. I think you need to internalize some of this process, okay? Especially with this card of the King of Pentacles coming in. It's ultimately showing that we need to go within in order to navigate the rest of it, okay?
Yes.
Now, does that make sense for you?
Some of it makes sense, yes. It's been ongoing for a while, really.
Yeah, and like I say, I do feel as if it's something that is really quite emotionally heavy, and I do think that there's going to be something worse happen before it gets better. I do feel as if there will be something, a defining moment is what I call them, within this pathway, and that defining moment will ultimately change your perspective moving forwards.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just making notes.
No
Thank
worries.
you. Thank you, Dryad. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got Dana and then we've got Peter.
Yeah.
So Dana first. Dana's from
Hi.
America. Yeah.
Hello. I would like
Oh,
a
cool.
general reading, please.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you.
I'll look. Okay, so we're starting with the Seven of Pentacles. So with this as a general reading, this is showing that life is very hectic right now, okay? There's a lot going off in the background. There's a lot going off within your head. People that get this card, I generally tend to say their head is very similar to a hurricane. It's going round and round and round, and there's so many different things going on in that head that you don't have the slightest clue how to start kind of taking that down and making ideas out of those, because you've got so much going on in that head that you're just not sure where to start, okay? So the next one is the Hierophant, and this is another one that requires another card pull. Now, it's another major arcana, and to be honest, the Hierophant is one of my favorite cards, but I'll get into that in a sec. So the next one we pulled alongside that is the Ace of Cups. So like I said, I'll talk about the Hierophant first. The Hierophant as a card in itself is really significant because it shows a time in your life where you need to stand still, okay? When you need to stand still, that means you're looking around at everything. And now with the first card that we got, I don't feel as if you're necessarily in an area of your life where you're able to just stop, okay? Because everything's quite hectic, everything's going on. But what these cards are actually showing me when we get the Hierophant and the Ace of Cups together is when we step out of these situations, when we put ourselves in somebody else's shoes and rather than our own, we can get an idea of what's going on around us, okay? So essentially what these cards are saying for the moment is that life is getting really, really hectic. There's a lot of the big decisions coming up for you. And the next stage of this pathways reading is that you're going to have to take a step back and look at everything with an outside perspective, okay? Because if not, it's going to get too busy, too hectic. You'll have too much on your plate to be able to process everything. And then with the next card, what we've got is the Five of Cups. Now, similarly to how I mentioned earlier, how the cups to me symbolize a general flow and a general ebb that we need within our life, what this is trying to tell me is I think that we are trying to grasp onto too many things at once, okay? So with the Five of Cups, it's ultimately in the reverse position. So that's about letting go. Okay, so what I think we need to do is take ourselves back a little bit and remove any excess weight that we have on our shoulders, anything that we don't need, any influences that are like without our control that we don't need around us. I want to say specifically toxic relationships around you and toxic friendships that perhaps have influenced your decisions, because I do get this idea that there are people kind of around you that are perhaps saying things and doing things that you're not 100% happy with. So again, I just really want to encourage you to take a step back, sit in a third person perspective for a little bit and have a look at your life from the outside and think about what advice you would offer yourself. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Hey, that was quite deep.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so we've got Pete next.
Yeah, cool. Let me just do a shuffle. And what was it we were looking at for him?
Just general, if you will, please.
Yeah, no worries. Just doing a quick shuffle again.
Let's get one of those shuffling machines.
The amount of times at shows when I throw my cards all over people is ridiculous. So we're starting with the Ace of Cups in this. So here we go. The Ace of Cups in reverse position. Now, what this is showing is ultimately we are currently looking at the world with an upside down perspective, okay? We're looking at things, we're trying to grasp things that we're not 100% sure about, okay? Ultimately, it feels as if we almost feel a bit over our heads with the situation that we're in. And then the next one, what we're looking at is the Seven of Pentacles. Now, again, we're looking at that in the reverse position. Now, the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse position, alongside with the Ace of Cups, is actually telling me that I want to drag this reading towards your kind of career, towards your work life, because I feel as if there's a lot of stresses around this area. And I do feel as if ultimately what we're looking at is kind of a very high stress situation. And to be honest, when we're looking at this next card, which is actually a major arcana, and it's justice in the reverse position, which again just makes me feel as if we are looking within that career kind of area of your life. Just because justice as a major arcana at the end ultimately symbolizes a goal. And what my readings don't really tend to have is end goals, because I don't really think that life is about reaching a goal. It's about living the journey. But this reading does have a goal. Okay, so I'm just going to pull my next card along with that. And we have another major arcana. This one's not in the reverse position. So this one's the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so with Justice and the Wheel of Fortune pulled at the end of the Pathways readings, this is actually really, really significant for this area of your life. It tells me that something is coming around that you're not really ready or expecting. Okay, so I would definitely caution you towards that, but it's a positive thing. It's something that's going to make you think, oh, okay, what was that about? That's good. That's really good. But why? Okay, and that is that situation that I'm getting into with this Pathways reading, is that ultimately we feel like we are way in with over our heads right now, but actually we're doing something a lot better than we realize, and there's a lot more good news coming around than we actually think there is going to be. Okay, so what I would say is trust in your own thought process, because there is something coming for you that shows that you've been doing the right thing.
Oh, good. Cool.
Great.
That
Interesting.
sounds great.
Thank you,
Ooh.
Dryad. That was wonderful. Thank you very much.
That's okay.
Can I have a reading, please? And I don't
Yeah.
always ask for a reading, but so mine is about my spiritual business, but also I'm meant to be writing a book, and I don't know if the book is about me personally, because I've got a lot of weird stuff, or if it's a book that's just teaching people about the mystical wellness pathway. So
Okay.
I need to know, is it about me and experiences that I don't yet remember, but my discovery of like my other lives, or what? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. Okay.
Okay.
I will definitely do the reading. Let me see. So, okay. Oh, okay. So this is going to be a big reading. I'm
Sorry.
just going to pull I'm pulling all the cards, so I've
All
got
the
everything
cards.
ready for me, because we've got lots of eyeballs about the place. So we're starting with these two cards. Okay, so these two cards, what we're looking at is the Queen of Pentacles and the Seven of Wands.
Yeah.
So ultimately what we're doing right now is we're sitting, okay? And I feel as if we need to sit within that energy right now, okay? So what sitting within that energy, what I mean by that is don't start this yet. Don't start this journey yet. You're not ready. Okay, is what is essentially coming through as the starting point for this, but you are very close to it. And when you do start it, you're going to go like that, and it'll be one of these things that you put all of your energy into, and it'll be complete a lot quicker than what you might realize. However, what we have next is the Devil card in the reverse position. So this symbolizes lack of growth, okay? So what I want to say with this card is actually what we need to be doing is writing the book about you. Okay, so with the Devil in reverse position, with all of these energetic things, it's actually about really dissecting your life, is what this card is showing me. Is ultimately we should go and nitpick things that perhaps you've not looked into before and start questioning those things, okay? And I think that ultimately writing this book within you about you and your life is going to be how you move forward with it, because I do feel as if there are things within your life, with this card especially, that are going to change your perspective on how you write the book. So I don't want to say to start with a plan, because usually, you know, you Google how to write a book, it says, oh, make a plan. I don't think you should have a plan, because when you start writing, when you get in that flow of things, you're going to write so much down, and you're going to have revolutions that you don't realize are there. Okay. And then for the final card, we have the High Priestess, but it's in reverse position. Okay, so we have the Major Arcana, but the High Priestess also asks us to pull another card. So we got the Nine of Cups with that. Okay, so what this actually goes to show with these two cards, with that being in the reverse position and the Nine of Cups, I think this part of your book, the ending of your book, is what I want to say specifically, because again, we don't usually get major arcanas at the end unless it's a goal. So I feel specifically the ending of your book, you should include this wellness guide that you mentioned earlier, almost like a one-to-one plan of how you've dealt with your life and your experiences. I feel as if having that within the back of the book will ultimately bring about the kind of knowledge and the thought perspective that you kind of need within your life, okay? And it'll almost be a little self-help tool, I think, for other people as well.
That makes a lot of sense. It really does. The first card that you picked, the one with the horse, just totally gave it away, because that horse in the other world has a big symbolism of something bad.
Yeah.
So that's part of my journey. So other people might see that and know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, okay, you're spot on there. Thank you.
That's okay.
That's
I'm
amazing.
glad, really. And I do think that, honestly, like I say, doing this book will really kind of change your perspective on things. So I would encourage you to do it as soon as you feel ready. But yeah, not yet.
Yeah, I'm working on a timeline, but it's a multi-dimensional timeline, so it's a bit tricky.
Oh yeah, like they make it hard.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. If anyone's got any questions for the Dryad, now's the time to do it, because we've got like 10 minutes. And we're going to finish soon, if anyone's got anything. No?
Sorry.
Did you mention when you started and where you actually entered this?
So I haven't kind of talked about it within this show, actually, but I have in the last one. So the last one I spoke about how I was born with visions. And that's kind of how my Tree of Life readings came about, is because when I used to touch things as a child, I would get random visions of things. I had no idea what they were. I went through a bit of a depressive period when I was a teenager. So 13 to 19, I disconnected myself completely spiritually. Then when I was 19, I went to South Africa. And when I went to South Africa, that reawoken my spiritual self, and I found it quite difficult to kind of deal with these visions and things coming back. And then my granddad passed when I was 22, and I devoted myself to paganism. And that's when my Tree of Life readings came in, and I started to be able to navigate things a bit better.
Thank you very much for that info.
No worries.
Thank you.
So let everybody know how they can work with you, how they can find you, or if you've got anything coming up, let us know.
I actually have my business card here. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. I also have my own website. So on Facebook, I'm the Dryad. Instagram, the Dryad Stream. But to be honest, my website is probably the easiest one to go to find everything. It's thedryadstream.com. And then I also do stream on Twitch. So that's called Drea's Dryad, because my gamer tag when I play games is Drea. Drea is essentially another word for dryad within Gaelic. So that's why I chose that. And then we've also got a Patreon that I've just set up. So I'm going to be doing my psychic development groups online. That's something I'm looking to do as soon as possible. And that'll just be £5 a month to attend my psychic development groups once that's set up.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm sure we'd all love to do that, to be honest. We would.
Yeah, that
and you've got these
amazing.
Yeah, you've got these spiritual social sessions that you do, which are local to you, are they?
Yes, so they are my psychic development sessions. To be honest, I don't advertise them as psychic development necessarily, because we look at things that aren't just psychic. We look at kind of mediumship. We play around with tarot. We look at my philosophy. So I study philosophy at university. So a lot of the times, the philosophical questions that I come across, I will bring into my psychic development group, and we'll look at that with a spiritual perspective. We'll have a discussion and a conversation about that, and then we'll pull cards and do readings depending on what that discussion's brought forwards. And to be honest with you, I've found this group to be like a home away from home. The people that come are always incredible, and they show so much support for me, and I always try to be there for them as well. And it's just so incredible to be around those people and to be able to sit in that judgment-free area and have these conversations and these complex topics about life and really difficult questions that you wouldn't necessarily come across. And I'm just so grateful to everybody that attends, who it brings all of that energy and brings that trust in me to be able to bring that session where people feel comfortable enough to be able to open up about these deep and meaningful things in life.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
It was good fun.
Yeah, we can't wait to get you back on.
Interesting, fascinating.